Is it Tell Me Live? Um, hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Typical Skeptic Podcast. And for the new people watching, welcome to the Typical Skeptic Podcast, where we get into the most interesting and amazing topics known in the conspiracy world and everything in far in between. And one of my guest tonight is literally one of my favorite guests. He helped me out a lot when I had like a real entity attachment. I did have a real entity attachment, and I was going to ask him about it. It still comes back during like full moons and stuff like that. But like, you know, I think it's just like, I want to ask him about this, but I think we all get attacked, but it's like, it's us being able to perceive it and then do constant clearings. And anyway, my guest tonight is a world traveler. He's a paranormal specialist, and he's an expert in entity attachments. He's an expert in magic. He's an expert in cross-cultural magic and cross-cultural paranormal traditions. And who that is Sadhu Dah. He's a world-traveling exorcist, occult practitioner, and digital nomad whose work in the esoteric and paranormal fields has taken him off to Thailand, Brazil, and other sacred sites across the world. His deep expertise in magic, entity removal, and metaphysical protection has earned him recognition in the major TV networks, where he documents cultural and spiritual initiations. Sadhu specializes in clearing negative forces, identifying levels of possession, and bringing forward ancient knowledge of energy manipulation, ritual, and psychic defense. Tonight on the show, Sadhu breaks down the reality of entity possession, demonic influence, parasitic attachments, and the unseen forces that prey on human consciousness. We'll explore how attachments form, how they manipulate, and we've talked about this in the past, so we're going to get into some of his travels as of late as well, too. And with all that said, I'd like to give him a big warm welcome back to the show. Sadhu, thanks so much for coming back on, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Getting ready to go back to Peru in the next few days. Just wrapping up my time here in Brazil. I've been in Brazil for 3 months now. Yeah, it's good to be here. It's good to see you again.
Yeah. Like it's dude. It sounds like you're like a world traveler. You really are a world traveler, man. You're always someone. I think last time I talked to you, you were in Thailand, right?
Yeah. I'm all over the world. It's kind of it's one of those things where I have friends that'll be like, oh, hey, like, what are you doing such and such time? And I'm like, oh, I'm here right now. I'll be here, at this point. And then that point passes and they're like, where are you? And I'm like, oh, well, my bad. I'm in Egypt right now. Or I just happen to find myself in Mongolia. Like, there's really no telling where I'm going to be any given month. I do my best to make consistent plans, but I just kind of bum around the world constantly and end up in the most interesting places, and then find myself on adventures that just kind of spiral me down into a different path, and I just roll with it.
Do you usually get called to these different places because of like a personal initiation or a personal mission, or is it you getting called there for paranormal cases like exorcisms and stuff, or is it all the above?
It's all the above. So, for example, I had a client that I had to go see in Indonesia at one point. I've been to Indonesia a few times, but I had someone that I'd met in Jakarta, and they had like talked to me off and on a little bit after like we had spent time together. And then several months later, they contacted me and they said, hey, like, I'd like to request your paranormal services. And I'm like, okay, like, what's going on? And they're like, well, there's like this small village that I want to take you to, where there's a girl who's committed several murders, and she's a small child, and she displays ungodly strength. And the family has had her strapped down for the better part of 6 months now into bed. And she's getting bed sores, and she comes in and out of this like otherworldly type of entity, presence, and then she goes back to being a little kid, and they don't know what to do with her. Local shamans have been out and tried to help her, and we just don't know what to do. We don't know how to help her. Like, can you please come? And so I was like, okay, well, I wasn't planning to coming back to Indonesia, anytime soon, but sure, I could come out there. So I like went out there. I went and helped this little girl, and then I just kind of went along my way. And this most recent trip has been incredibly interesting because I got to find some very, very fascinating stories out while I was in the Amazon in Iquitos in Peru, and I didn't even plan to go to Peru. So I did a documentary where I was filming salmon fishing out in Bristol Bay, like in Alaska, and I got invited to go out there to film a documentary. And after I was on this fishing boat, I was going to go back to Thailand. And my mother was like, well, it's been like 5 years. You haven't been home. You haven't come and visited. Are you really going to be in the U.S. and not come see your mother? And I was like, okay, Mom, I'll come. So I went to Texas. And then while I was in Texas, just for 2 weeks, I was looking up flights. And I saw a really cheap flight from Houston to Lima in Peru. And I said, $180 one way? Yeah, let's go. So I went. And then when I was in Lima, I'm like talking to people. I'm seeing like, well, what is there to do here? What are the common paths people take travel wise? And then one of the things that kept coming up was like Iquitos. It's the biggest city in the Amazon in the world. There's like 5 countries that border the Amazon, and Brazil has the biggest percentage of the Amazon, but the biggest city, which having gone there, I wouldn't actually call it a city, but had the biggest population in a modern societal context. And so I went to Iquitos, and I ended up having some incredible luck in just meeting all the right people. And I met this guy named Fernando who works with the Peruvian government, and he extracts like fertilance and bushmaster venom to create life-saving antivenoms for people who get bitten by like some of the most venomous snakes in the entire continent there. And so when I met this guy and I'm like talking to him and hanging out, and I also have like new videos they're months away from coming out, but like I'm editing them right now. I milked the venom out of highly venomous snakes. I am not a professional at that. It was my very first time doing it. My balls were in my throat. I was terrified, but I did it for the experience and under the guidance of a man who I trusted. So that was its own tale. And he was like, "Hey, I have a buddy who because he was getting to know me a little bit, and he was like, I have a buddy that lives out in like deep in the Amazon. It's like if we take a few hour boat ride and we go hiking for a couple hours into the jungle, I can take you to their comunidad, to their community." And I was like, "Oh, that sounds really cool." He's like, "Yeah, the dude's got a lot of crazy story about like these little like midget like creatures that look like humans that live in the jungle." And I was like, "Dude, I am so down." So I went there and I got to interview some of these people. And I got to hear from the villagers about some of these Chilliwacky, some of these creatures that they encounter in the jungle. And I got to hear some fascinating stories. And I even got to see, like, they wouldn't let me take pictures or video of it, but they showed me these like preserved feet that supposedly belonged to one, and it was considered like a relic, and they had it like in the center of their village, and they considered it like a totem that protect their village. And I got to see it, and it was like mummified looking, and it was bizarre, and they looked like children's like mummified children's feet, but they said they were from a Chilliwacky.
I'm sorry, I mean to interrupt. What is it? Is it like an Ewok or something?
They kind of look like it. So they're like the size of like a child, like the size of like a toddler, but they look like the closest description that you would have like in Western context would be that of a gnome. And what's really interesting about them is their feet are backwards, and they're considered to be protectors of the forest. And for poachers and hunters and people that mean the forest harm, They use glamour and trickery to lure them to their deaths, to lure them off cliffs, to get them lost in the jungle, to lead dangerous wildlife to them to attack them. Like they do everything they can to protect the jungle. And they have a lot of these like rituals and practices of like when you're going on a hunt, you have to appease the Chilliwacky first. You have to show the Chilliwacky that you are not a threat to the forest, that you sustain off of the forest, that the forest nourishes you, that you're coming in a manner of respect. So you leave an offering for the Chilliwacky. And so I met this one guy who had like a really interesting experience with one of them, and he was saying like. He was so they have these boats that they use to navigate through the Amazonia, like a river system, and they're made out of one tree. So like one tree will make like this boat, like almost like a little canoe, and they like take a long time to carve them and shape them and make them. And so he had like some tea and stuff out there, and he was sitting there working in the sun, and he's like building this boat. And every time he would like, go to take a break before he get to a stopping point, he would fill up his thermos and it would set the cup out, and then he'd go finish and he'd come back, and then the cup was empty. And he was like, okay, what's going on here? I know I poured that. So then he'd pour another cup, drink it, and then he'd go working again, fill up the cup, go to take a break, set it out there, go back, finish his thing, come back, cup was empty again. He's like, okay, there's something going on here for sure. So then he tells me, so like I'm gonna have it translated, but I have this entire interview from him in Espanol, in Spanish. So I'm gonna have it translated out when I release this video. But so he says like, so he took some of the they have like masalta, which is like cassava root, which is poisonous if you ingest it. It has to be fermented for it to be ingested by people. And so it's a traditional drink. And then, of course, when they ferment it over time, it ends up becoming alcoholic, kind of similar to like rice wine or like grape wine or something, right? So he pours out some masalta, puts it in a cup, and he puts it out there. And then he goes back and he does his work. And then he comes back, and instead of just seeing an empty cup, he sees this small little man passed out in the boat. And he like looks at it, and he's like, what? Like tripping out that he got it. So he ties it up and he brings it back to his house, and he goes to get all the other villagers to say like, I caught a Chilliwacky, like come to my house. He's in there. So he brings all the villagers like back to his house, and when he goes in there, all they find is one little booty, like a little shoe, and the hat. And the Chilliwacky is gone. And it's just the ropes and a couple of pieces of clothes from the Chilliwacky.
What do you think the Chilliwacky is? Do you think it's a gray alien or something? Or do you think it's like some kind of elf or dwarf or something? Or
So I would consider it, in my opinion, because I haven't fully done all the research yet. But from what I can correlate from past experiences, studies, and research, I would definitely say this would be some type of fae.
Oh,
for sure, some type of fae.
Wow,
an earth type of fae. But what I find interesting about it is it could also be some sort of variant hybrid, because we know in cultural context and studies of the fae, we know that there have been like human hybrids, and that fae have been known in lore to kidnap human children and raise them, and living in the fae realm, they become distorted. Their DNA becomes changed because of the vibrations of the dimension that they're living in, right? So I think that it's a possibility. It could be some type of hybrid type of human fae spirit being, like quasi-physical type of entity. It could just purely be a fae forest guardian type of being, or even more interestingly, it could be an evolutionary offshoot of humans.
Wow. Well,
I'm not 100% sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I saw some weird stuff while I was out in the Amazon, man.
wow.
I had a guy who sold me. I mean, this might sound a little controversial, but I mean, it is what it is. So I had a guy that sold me a Jaguar wallet. It's a wallet with the skin of a jaguar, the fur of jaguar. I got it for less than $10 USD. Bought it from a villager.
Wow.
That thing
Holy
would
shit.
sell for like hundreds of dollars in the US if you were to sell that. A real jaguar skin. Well, I mean, it's different out there, man. It's different out there. I drank a drink that was made from the spit of villagers. I had a weird I had a weird time, man.
Did you see anything else out there paranormal from what you?
So one thing that I did see that was quite strange for me was one of the nights when I stayed in the village, because like we couldn't go back on the same day. We had to stay there for a couple nights when we were out in this village, just because it takes quite a bit of time to get back and to get there as well. So I went out to go take a piss, out in the bushes, and I seen like a big snake in the brush. And then when I looked after, doing my business, I looked back over to the bush, and it looked to appear to be, I can't say this with 100% certainty, and there is a heavy bit of skepticism here, but it would appear that I saw a silhouette of a woman in the bushes where I saw the snake go into. And then when I went to go and look at it closer upon inspection, I could no longer find the silhouette of the woman. I could no longer hear like movement in the brushes, and everything was just dead quiet, like really, really quiet. And it was really odd to me, because even moments before, I remember hearing like wildlife, like little weird noises, insects, like birds, etc. Like I could hear stuff. And then it was after seeing that silhouette and kind of questioning, was that really a silhouette of a woman I just saw? And when I went to walk up to the bushes, and then everything just went dead quiet, I was like, I know how this goes, and I am not going to go any step further. And I just went back to the house I was in, and I just let it be. I just let it be, man.
Wow, that's insane. That's
It was weird. It was weird. I can't 100% call it paranormal, but it was odd, to say the least. It was odd.
Wow, man, that's insane. That yeah. Wow. And then like what? So where are you off to next? Like what's your next thing? Like what are you trying to do after this? Like
so I came to Brazil, and I went to Sao Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Paraty, so Paraty, and then also I went to Espírito Santo, and when I was in Espírito Santo, I got to meet through my quick little side note. When I was in Peru, I also ended up meeting this really, really beautiful woman, and she was Brazilian. So like, I was vibing, I was really feeling it. So I followed her back to Brazil, consensually, of course. And we've been in a relationship for a few months now, and so she introduced me, and she gave me like the real local route. Like her dad is very involved with Umbanda. And this is like you have like a lot of Afro-Caribbean and like Afro like religions like in Brazil that are quite popular, and there's a lot of ritual aspects to it, the occult, etc., spirit, deity worship, all this kind of thing. And so when we were in Espírito Santo, I got to meet this guy called Graminha. So it's kind of an interesting nickname, because it means the little grass. So I met this man called the Little Grass, and I got to interview him, and he was telling me about his experience with vampires in Brazil. And like this guy runs like an underground occult bookshop. This like down an alley, like out towards like the favelas, like is like not like really an area you want to go walking around in. And so he like brings me in, lets me do an interview with him. Dude proceeds to tell me some unbelievable stories about his time in this community, and some of the things that he's seen, like a woman who was able to change her features from being young to being very old, like physically able to change her shape shift, her age, and like sex blood rituals and stuff like that he witnessed, and how he feared for his life when he turned down this cult, and it's just all kinds of stuff. And then I got to see like a kumbanda like ritual on the beach as well, and I just kind of got to see and experience like a lot of really crazy stuff that I wasn't signing up for it. I didn't look for it, like it found me. And that's how a lot of this stuff happens, is either people contact me and they want me to come and help them, or I just end up places and stuff finds me and I find myself involved in very interesting things. Like if you would have asked me like, hey, Sadhu, like you're going to Peru. Okay, cool. Well, after you finish Peru, like, where are you going next? I wouldn't have told you I would like be talking to some guy that ran away from a vampire cult, who was called the Little Grass, in Espírito Santo in Brazil. Like I would have never predicted that. I wouldn't be able to tell you like that was what was going to come next.
Yeah, that's insane. That's amazing. You live an amazing life. It's like you're like the real like live like paranormal Indiana Jones. You know what I mean? In a way, you know what I mean?
Like people tell me that, like what I do to go and get amulets when I'm in Thailand. Like that itself has earned me an Indiana Jones nickname. Like I'll like drive out to like a few hours out into like the boonies, like in the middle of nowhere, where like you have to drive through like somebody's farm, and it's like a road that's not even on Google Maps, and you're like, I'm clearly lost. And then you have to like go and ask for directions, and then like you end up like somehow finding your way to this one temple, which was rumored to have these specific type of amulets, and then you end up there, and then you have to like fight these dirty soy dogs, like these stray dogs that live at the temple, and like they're really aggressive, and you have to like placate them with like hot dogs and stuff, and then you finally get to the monks, and you're like, yes, please let me buy these amulets that are $3 a piece, that are like super holy and incredible. And it's like, and then people wonder why like I'm selling that amulet that I bought for $3, the equivalent of $3, why I'm selling that for $50. And it's like, do you have any idea what I had to go through to get this amulet? Also, you find this amulet anywhere else online? No. Even if you could come here in Thailand and go get it to yourself, would you even know how to go there and get it?
Yeah.
It's like, I kind of become like an Indiana Jones with like Thai amulets as well.
That's cool though. I mean, that's really cool. Like, I mean, yeah, like, and I love the fact that you get to travel like around all over the place. Heaven, can I ask you a question? Do you see an uptick in like? Do you feel like the veil's thinning, and are you seeing like an uptick in entity attachments?
Yeah. So it's a very interesting thing. So no, I wouldn't say that there's an uptick in the sense that things have increased from where they were. What I would say is, so before we had like society in a modern sense, in the way that it is in first world countries, you had a lot more paranormal phenomena occurring.
Yeah.
And a lot of places I've been, especially in like developing countries, you still see this paranormal stuff quite prevalent. So what I would say is, it's not that you're seeing an uptick necessarily. You're just seeing things kind of reverting back to how they were originally. So in that sense, yes, technically you could say there is an uptick, but I would more so reason it to being things are kind of going back to how they were before there were power lines everywhere and constant lights on and et cetera, right? A lot of these entities that are in the malevolent category, the reason why you're seeing more of them in this first world context is a combination of a few things. So one, we have to think of the aspect of terraforming. So kind of like getting used to a new environment and kind of taking it over. So there's an overlap of time. It's like, okay, we've invaded, we're here, we know how to work with this, we can do this, we can do that. Things changed. Now we have to adjust to that. Now we've adjusted to that, and now we're resuming business as normal. So there is that aspect, okay? Then there's some entities that I have met. I have a documented 3-video series on my YouTube where you get to hear a real demon's voice that has learned how to possess landlines and knows how to manipulate technology. And this entity in this particular case was very diabolical because there were some aspects where the client was no longer fearful of it because we had taught the client how to face it. And it started to, instead of using fear, it was still matching to lower vibrations, right? To feed and to build the rapport. So then it started targeting anger, started making him angry. And it was using, it hacked his Amazon. And this entity was ordering. So it broke his laptop. It shorted out and broke. And then the client, he went to go buy a new laptop. He ordered it on Amazon. And on Amazon, like you have like one click, all this kind of stuff, right? You can have your payment information saved, etc. So then his new laptop arrived. And then a day later, another one arrived. And he's like, oh, this must be a mistake. So
this could be real.
Yeah. So then he went to send it back, and then he looked at his order history, and it showed that the same laptop had been ordered several times. So he's expecting like 4 or 5 more laptops to arrive, and he's like, "What the heck is going on here?" And so he'd like cancel the orders, and then it would just order like it was this entity was trolling him using.
Oh my God,
online
shopping. I mean, I feel bad. I don't want it to happen to anybody. I almost feel bad, but like, that guy had to be going through hell, right? I mean, like,
oh, he was. I mean, some of the crazy phenomena that he experienced was like, and this is just like next level trolling. So, so he would have like dog poop would materialize in his backyard. He didn't have a dog, but like there was like dog poop, like a lot of it, like different piles all over the backyard that would materialize.
What?
And he thought, okay, like it has to be coming from the neighbor. No, it's not coming from the neighbor. There's no holes in the yards. Dogs haven't gotten out. Like he installed cameras. The cameras showed nothing. It showed absolutely nothing. And yet dog poop kept appearing in the backyard. So he started to like obsessively like, clean it up, and he was getting really pissed off about it. And then this is where it went like diabolical on the next step of it. Then he had like like when you have a sealed box of cereal, like it's like a glue that seals the top, and then like you have the plastic that holds the cereal, and that's sealed. So he opened his cereal one day, brand new box, opened the top, opens the plastic, pours the cereal in his bowl, and there is dried dog poop that drops into the bowl.
Oh man, that's foul.
He opened a brand new box of juice, sealed, completely sealed, pours a glass of it, takes a sip, tastes like something's off with it, like it's expired or something, like something's wrong with it. Dumps, like starts to pour it out, and then notices he hears something in it. So he shakes the container, and there's something like solid in there. Cuts the container open. There's poop in there.
Oh my God.
He started to like find ghost poop in the toilet, unflushed. Number 2's in the toilet, not from him, unflushed, just magically appearing.
Wow. And like
Next level trolling, man.
Did you end up getting rid of that entity, or was he able to get rid of it, or like what happened?
We did, but unfortunately, and this is something that we would call an ancient evil. These are very, very, very rare. I cannot state how rare this is. An over 1,000 cases. And you know my colleague Amun, you know, you've met him.
Yeah,
We've worked with him, we talked to him, you had him on recently. So and Amun can verify this with you as well. In more than 1,000 cases worked between me and him, this is the only case we've ever met on this level.
Wow.
So this is incredibly rare. And so once we got him finally into a good place and we got the phenomena died down, it had jumped to his ex-wife that had left him once, which is like, for something to jump, there's certain rules, there's certain, like, these things follow patterns, they're measurable, you can prove this, you can follow this like a guideline. This type of entity, this very rare type of entity, it breaks those guidelines. It goes outside of the parameters of what are known checkpoints and procedures of how things follow and operate in the order of stuff.
Dude, it sounds like you guys get some fascinating. I mean, like, they sound horrible, but they also sound fascinating. It's like
my most recent case was like something I'd never seen before. It was very interesting, and it was a ghost, but I'd never seen anything like it before. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. If you want to finish what you were going to say.
No, it's interesting. What do you think it was that I had? It seemed to me like it was like astral parasites, and then it seems like they come back every once in a while.
Like, what you had is what we would call like a textbook, like succubus incubus spirit. So one of the things that people often misclassify is like, somebody would say an incubus or a succubus are two different things. An incubus and a succubus are the exact same thing. They're androgynous. They fit the needs of the person's preferences, right? Yeah. So if you were a gay man, it would take the form of a male type of like sexual predatory type of spirit, right? And same thing if it's a woman. It doesn't really matter. It's whatever your preferences are, and it's not even a sexual thing. It's a sacral based type of feeding. So think of it as like, okay, you know how some cars take unleaded and some take premium, and if you don't put premium gas, if you put unleaded in a premium car, like, you can really mess up the engine, right? So think about some of these type of parasites. They feed off very specific type of chakra energy. And if they're not feeding off of this refined type of chakra energy, anything else they feed off from you, it's just not going to do the job, and it makes them sick. So with an incubus, succubus type of spirit, they feed off of sacral energy. So they feed off of this sexual type of energy. It's nothing about it for them is sexual. It's this type of energy sustains them and nourishes them. So they will use whatever they need to elicit a bigger kind of bump of juice from that sacral chakra, right? Whether that be sexual deployment through dreams, physical, like astral projected type of manifestational efforts, etc. Like they're operating off of feeding from this chakra. Now, these are not demons either. They are astral parasites. They come from the astral realm. They are not demons. They're bottom feeders. A demon would eat the shit out of an incubus or a succubus.
How do I get rid of them like completely? Because I've noticed they come back every once in a while. But I've learned how to fight them off for the most part. I've learned how to manipulate energy. I can even project my own energy onto people now. You know what I mean? Like, not in a bad way. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
a lot of this is going to come down to maintenance. So, and that's, like I wasn't trying to be rude with you when we were working together, because you know how there were a couple of times I talked to you and it was almost in a little bit of like a dominating kind of way. I'm like, no, you're not listening. You need to hear me. Like listen to what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell you. Like sometimes when we get in a fear-minded type of state, which is completely understandable, when we're overwhelmed, when we're being assaulted, when things have just like that are literally designed to break our sanity, are rooted in, and they're picking us apart, and you have somebody that's trying to speak to you from a point of not just solidarity, but
like a logical
yeah, exactly, yeah, from an analytical and logical position. Sometimes when the emotion is too heavy, you can't fully hear it, and so sometimes I have to kind of be really firm with people, and I have to be like, look, I understand. I want to be sympathetic. I want to be empathetic to what you're going through, but I don't care about what you're feeling right now. You need to listen to exactly what I'm saying. You need to take your medicine. You need to do this step by step so that you can get better. You need to do this exactly as it's outlined, because the problem is, and I learned this over years of doing this, and it got me into trouble a couple of times. And I'm not saying that, like, for investigators and for psychics and for people that are out there, exorcists, etc. I'm not saying like be cold-hearted and jaded and don't care about people's feelings when you go to help them, and to only approach with cold logic. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, at a certain point, if the person is not hearing you and they're so wrapped up in fear, you have to push past that. You can't get wrapped into the story. You can't get wrapped in the feelings, and you have to almost be like a disciplinarian. You have to almost be like a strict parent, and you have to say, like, no, bring it back together. Like, no, come here, listen. And you have to kind of bring that person forward. And I don't like doing that, but sometimes I have to, because if you let a person, or if you over sympathize with them, they can get locked into that, and then you can't get them out of it. And you got to kind of give that cold shock of water, to splashed onto them, and you just got to kind of rip it out at the root. So, like, once we get you into a place like where you're at right now, for example, now we can have the calm, cool discussion of like, hey, this is all just about maintenance at this point. This is about doing your clearings. This is about doing your shielding. This is about doing your like sadhana, your daily technique, like elevating your energy. You know how to manipulate energy, work with it. Cool. Okay. Well, let's learn how to do something with that. Like, let's learn how to strengthen it. Like, let's learn how to reclaim it, keep it your own. You say that you're having issues on like full moons. Okay, well, that makes sense, because that tends to heighten, the effect of spiritual energies. But that also works both ways. That also works with you as well. So if you can harness it and work with it in the same regard, then you'll see that it can cancel out that entity heightening as well. So when we work with things over time in these maintenance stages, then what we find is that you're starving off. You're not becoming easy prey. And these things, being predators, even bottom feeders, like, you have to understand, if we're looking at this from an environmental aspect, we're looking at nature, predator versus prey. What is the key thing about a predator? The predator sees opportunity. Now, if you or I get injured in a fight, we can go to the doctor, we can do this, we can do that. We stand a good chance at survival. But a lion or a tiger or a bear or something like this, these animals have learned that, a wound, even if not a kill strike, a severe wound occurred in a fight with prey or against another predator, might as well be a death sentence, because then, if it's crippled and hindered from hunting, then it can't eat, it starves, it dies. If something puts up too big of a fight, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. So what do most predators do? They strike the elderly. They try to take the babies, the ones that are injured. if you ever look at like a group of gazelles and like they're darting off and like, you know, a cheetah goes after one, is the cheetah going after the fastest, strongest gazelle in the pack?
No, it's always going after the one that's always injured.
Right. It's going after the straggler. It's going after the injured one. It's going after the baby that can isolate and get alone. So these entities are very much so the same. They pick off, you know, the weak. And I'm not saying that people suffering from mental illnesses are weak. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that, you know, in this context, you are a closer vibrational match to this entity than the next person. So if you raise yourself,
you could have holes in your aura too, right? Like you could have like holes in your aura due to whatever, and that could cause them to come in. Is that correct?
It's not that it causes them to come in, but if you're leaking energy, if you have these holes in your aura as you're describing, that's a sign of something else. That's a sign of sickness in the meridians. Holes in the aura are not just there in healthy people, right? It's a sign of sickness, and it is still. It goes back to our original analogy of you know, the weak or the sick or the elderly or the baby gazelle, right? It's the low one in the pack, right? So yeah. Technically, yes, you're right. So the holes in the aura, but that's a sign of sickness. So what we want to do is we want to aim to increase our frequency into a higher vibration. Then we become out of grasp, out of rapport. Then this entity has to work harder to connect with us again. And what is likely to happen once you reach a certain threshold is the entity will leave in search of another host, in search of other prey, which sucks for that person that they come across, yes, but it's no longer you. And that's the important thing.
For people that want to know this stuff, like just for out of curiosity purposes, can these entities be killed? Can they be decimated? Can they be taken out completely?
No. Because the means of killing them
they're already dead, right?
No, it's not that they're already dead. They're not in this dimension. What you're seeing is a sort of you know, bilocation or astral, more so astral projected bilocation, if you will. That's what you're seeing. If you remember reading my book, I talk about this, the different levels of demonic entities, like you know, the levels of the threat, right? And you could have a soldier class demon, but then once it's bridged, it can be more of an overlord type of demon. And what the difference of that soldier demon to the overlord demon being, even though it's the same entity, you know, in the context of what we're talking about right now, how can this one entity, the same entity, be this low level and also be this high level entity? Yeah, because of the level of connection, level of connection, how close it is to our reality. The further away it is, the lower level of influence and ability to influence the environment that it has. The closer it is and the more bridged into our dimension that it becomes, the higher level of threat because of what it can distort within our reality.
Say you're a human with good like bilocation abilities, or you're an astral walker, or you learn how to walk the realms. Like, or you know, can you go and fight them on their own turf? Like, can you go to the astral and battle them? Have you ever heard of people doing this?
Yeah, but I mean, it's very moronic, if you will. And the reason why I say that is, you know, as scared as you might be facing a demon and seeing phenomena happening in a house, don't let any mistake be made. You have the high ground, you know. It's kind of like that meme where it's like, you know, Obi-Wan is like, I have the high ground, Anakin. You know, it's like, dude, don't make me do this. Like, I have the advantage here. Like the reality of things is, in this dimensional body that we have, anything coming in this dimension as a threat, we stand a greater chance of beating it back, of defeating it, of pushing it out. when you project and go, no matter how fancy you can get with it, when you go there, you are at a considerable risk.
Wow.
You
That's interesting.
are at a disadvantage.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is all interesting. So this is stuff people need to know, I think, because, there's a lot of people who walk the realms and stuff like that,
You're definitely at a disadvantage in that space, but and that doesn't mean that you can't protect yourself. That doesn't mean that there's nothing you can do, right? But I'm just saying, like, if we look at it in the context of, okay, so if I pit a man against a bear, who's likely to win? Well, honestly, the bear is. Well, if I give the man a gun, obviously the man's likely to win. And in the same scenario of man versus bear, could the man win even without a gun? It's possible. It's not likely. It's definitely not like in the realm of what you would assume to be the greatest odds, right? But it can happen. It's just not likely. But then you give the man a gun and it's like, well, he didn't have enough bullets. He was a crappy shot, or, he just had bad luck, but like he had the advantage. That's the same in this scenario.
I love that, man. Well, we have about 10 minutes. Is there anything else you wanted to cover that would be like interesting, or that things we might think people might want to know about like kind of what's going on with like spiritual warfare, or like anything? I don't know. We can kind of go wherever you want. I don't know.
There's a very interesting case I just recently did that I wanted to share about, just because I haven't seen something quite like this before, which is saying a lot. So I had this woman that I contacted on Reddit who was sharing posts about waking up with like these strangulation marks around her neck, and she had these like scratches on her body and all this, and so she was asking, like, is this paranormal? Like, I had my carbon monoxide, filter check, or, monitor checked, and everything's good. Like, I live alone. Like, there's nothing going on here. Like, I don't understand. Like, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, there's other parts of this, but I don't want to talk about it, quite yet. And so like, I reached out to her and she got back to me. What I come to find out is, so she was in an abusive relationship for 10 years with this one guy. This guy, he ended himself by police officer, if you know what I mean. So they had a call one night. The police showed up, and he chose that action. That was the route he took. And so now she's finally free, right? Like this guy is no longer alive. He's out of her life. He can't hurt her anymore. Except after the funeral, she starts having these weird experiences where she could swear she could hear his voice faintly when she would walk in the living room. Stuff would move around a little bit. She'd wake up feeling like she got pinched, but there's like nothing there other than like a small little mark that fades like pretty quickly. Then it escalated. She would go out into the living room, like where the kitchen is, and she would hear obscenities yelled at her in his voice, though no one was there. Plates and things would fly out of the cabinet would fly open, and plates would come out, shoot across the wall, and smash and break. She would start waking up with like ligature marks on her neck. She'd have scratches on her body. And even more concerning, she went into the bathroom because she heard the water on. She goes in and the shower is on, full blast. She opens it, freaked out, because she obviously didn't turn it on. And the water's pouring. There's nobody in the shower, but there's a bar of soap, the exact same bar of soap and brand that he would use, that she had already thrown all of this stuff had already been thrown away. And there was a brand new bar of the same soap he used there, wet and sudsed up, sitting there on the side in the shower. And so I quickly ruled out a lot of things. And then I told her, I said, look, I'm sure you probably have come to the same conclusion as me, but your ex-boyfriend is still abusing you even in the afterlife.
Wow.
And the interesting thing about it is he wasn't a wraith. He didn't turn into some sort of monster, which happens sometimes, right? With spirits. This guy was a piece of S in life, and he was a piece of S even in the afterlife. And he was still, the thing he held on to, the thing that anchored him and bound him was the abuse of his woman. It was the
That's
only
so
thing
sad.
that kept him going. Yeah, it is.
Wow.
So I ended up helping her. We ended up crossing the spirit, and nothing is happening anymore. But it was such a fascinating case for me. Like this, the type of behavior that you're seeing demonstrated is normally something you would see happen with a wraith type of spirit or like a demonic type of entity. And this was a ghost, but the ghost of a not good person, continuing to prove they were not a good person, even in the afterlife. Interesting.
Wow.
Recent case that I wanted to share.
Dude, that is insane. That's yeah. Well, I mean, I'd love to have you back on again, man, because this was amazing. Like, I mean, like I always enjoy every time you come on. You know, like this was awesome. Like, yeah. Well, do you want to promote anything? And yeah, thanks for coming on. This was awesome, man. Like, yeah, like, and I know you have a book out, and like, you know, and I know you sell amulets and stuff like that. Like, anything you want to promote, man. And thanks so much for coming on again. This was awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to come on anytime. You know, I like your audience. I like you as a host. I find the show to be just a good space to share and talk in, and you bring some of the fun aspects out conversationally that I have to be a little bit more professional with in other scenarios, and here I can kind of let loose a little bit more. But
That's cool.
But yeah, it's www.thesadhudah.com, TheSadhudah.com. TheSadhudah.com is where you can find my my documentaries, my paranormal services, my amulet shop, like my access to my book, all that, like my blog, all this stuff, everything to do with what I offer can all be found through my website.
Yeah, and I just wanted to tell you real quick before you go, I was always fascinated with Brazilian culture. You know, I'm fascinated. That's why I love having you on the show, because I'm fascinated with cultures all around the world. You know, I took Brazilian jiu-jitsu for a long time. You know, I used to follow the Gracie family in MMA for a long time. You know, so I was always like, you know, seeing what was going on. And like MMA and UFC is basically, it's like based in you know, jiu-jitsu is like a big part of it. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, you know. And
capoeira as well.
I would have loved. I mean, is it? Are you loving it down in Brazil, or how? Yo, yeah, I love capoeira too. Yeah, capoeira is like the. Yeah, are you loving it down there?
I'll be honest. Like any country, there's things I love. There's things I don't like. But you know, overall, I would say I lean more positive. Like, will I come back to Brazil? 100%. I love it. My personal suggestion for anybody that wants to come to Brazil or plans to travel there at some point, be very, very careful where you stay in Rio. Places like Copacabana would be more ideal for a foreigner. It is, you know, it is a known fact. Brazil is not the safest country. But when you talk about like Sao Paulo and Rio, those are going to be the areas where you need to really know where you're staying and be careful. Do not go touring favelas, like stay out of the ghetto. But Espírito Santo, Vitória, Vila Velha, like Paraty, like these other areas, Brazil is huge. It's the biggest country in South America, you know. Brazil is huge. And like even like Minas Gerais, like all these different areas, so vastly different with the culture. Beautiful people, amazing, rich history, and it's a great place to go. Just be level-headed and know where you're going if you're in the big cities. Other than that, you're safe in other areas.
Yeah. And yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Well, dude, I'd love to hear where you go next, and be safe, man. And like, keep us posted, I honestly love having you on the show. It's always interesting.
I'm going to be in DC in January, actually, which is kind of crazy.
Where, DC, you said?
I'm going to be in DC in January.
Wow, man. Where are you going to be? Because maybe I can try to make it there, maybe.
Like, I'll be like near the Capitol, like in DC. My girlfriend's doing an internship there. So we'll be there for 8 weeks. So we go there like January 15th, and we'll be there for 2 months. And then we jet off to Asia right after that. Before that, I'll be in Mexico, and I'll be in Peru. I head to Peru next, going back to Peru, and then we'll be in Mexico for a little bit, and then I'll be in DC, and then I'll be back in Asia.
There's a conference in Maryland. There's a conference, and it's like a UFO kind of conference. It's called, I can't remember what it's called. The guy who's throwing, his name is Brandon Niblett. It's like right around my birthday is January 11th. So like it's right on my birthday, actually. I'm trying to go there. So I'll be maybe in the Maryland area like January 11th, like I don't know. Like, I'm not sure. I'm trying to go, but yeah, I know that's going on too. So yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna try to find some stuff. I'm gonna do a couple of interesting things while I'm there on the East Coast. It's pretty rare for me to come to the U.S. This will be my second time in the U.S. in 5 years. So I'm pretty excited for it. I do love the USA, but things be getting expensive, and for everyone, and everyone's feeling the hurt. The inflation, all that stuff, and I'm blessed enough to be able to earn, online, and I live in other countries where I'm able to live a little bit more comfortably, and I move around quite a bit. So that works for me. But yeah, while I am in DC, I'm going to be exploring some of the most paranormally haunted things, on that part of the globe. I also have a client who I reached out to that's going to invite me up to New York on a weekend while I'm down there, so I can go clear out their uncle, their great grandfather was a Nazi, and apparently he had a predilection for the occult, and his basement is quite haunted, and nobody in the family has wanted to live there since great granddaddy died. And so I'm gonna go see this evil Nazi basement and clear out whatever's lurking down there. So that's one of the little adventures. Dude, I'm gonna go on.
If you want to go live on one of these, I'm down. Or if you want to, go live and update us, let me know. Like I'm always up for it.
Yeah, certainly, brother. Certainly.
All right. Well, thanks so much, dude, and I'll be talking to you soon. And thanks everybody for tuning in tonight.
Please do. Reach out. Have a good one, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Good night, everyone, and I'll see you.